What's up guys, welcome to Voicey here. This is your host that just got back from the Renaissance Festival and bought a Twilight Princess Master Sword, Captain Zach. And today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady with a bonus story from r/Today I Fudged Up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called Cancer Patient's Mom Should Do Your Job. In late 2018, I was diagnosed with stage 4 tongue cancer. In early 2019, I had surgery to get it removed. Basically, losing most of my tongue, having part of my left arm to reconstruct it, and part of my throat was removed. That made eating impossible. So I was also given a feeding tube, which is located on the left side of my stomach. I haven't eaten real food since January 2019. After that, I went into rehab for 2 weeks, and then I had chemotherapy and radiation for 6 weeks. My chemo wasn't too bad, being that it wasn't the regular kind, and I only had it once a week. But radiation was a bench, being that I had to lay down with a mask on my face and stay perfectly still for 20 or so minutes at a time, 5 days a week, which meant my mom and grandmother and I were forced to stay in a hotel for those weeks. We're from the south part of my state. My mom and I actually lived over the state line, and the hospital is 3 hours away, meaning we had to stay close during that time. Thankfully, you can get reimbursed for lodging and gas if you live far away. So we sent in receipts and they would pay us back. Fast forward, I also had a lung collapse, getting a chest tube to fix it and having it put back in when it disconnected. Blood clots in my arm which swollen up, and a biopsy of my lung and around my feeding tube to check places that showed up on a CT scan, making the doctors think it might have been cancer, which thankfully it wasn't. And the doctors did another CT scan a couple of weeks ago, and the spots were still there on my lung and around my feeding tube. They wanted to do another couple biopsies to check once more, so they had to reschedule it, which for some reason they had to get it approved by the hospital, which we would get a call at a later date. Approved for the Tuesday before Halloween 2019, we head out to go. On the way there, my caseworker, let's call her D, calls my mother in the car. She tells my mom to get reimbursed for our trips, they need a 7-day notice to do so. They didn't give them a notice in the right amount of days, only 4 days notice, so we might not get paid back. After we get back from the trip, Dee and my mother were talking on the phone. Dee tells her that she tried to get them to pay, but she had no luck. Then she had the audacity to say to my mom, "Maybe you can get them to do it by calling them." Now you might be thinking, why hadn't I been talking to her? Well, I can't talk well over the phone to where they would understand me, and my mom had taken secretary classes or whatever in college. She does things of that nature. I was annoyed by Dee basically wanting my mother to call and get this taken care of. One being that my mother didn't make the appointment, the hospital did, which made them not have enough days. 2, we had been going to appointments for half a year, paying out a bunch of money to travel and stay in their city, and for my mother and whoever at the time was with us to eat, and having to deal with my body problems. Feeding tube leaks, me being malnourished, the pain I have all over, etc. 3, it was Dee's freaking job to fix it, not ours. But my mother doesn't make a fuss with doctors and people that are helping me recover, so she calls other people. This works out poorly. One number says call this number, the next says call this number, and then one number said call this number and have them do something and then call me back. Let's just say my mother gave up after the last number and just settled with it. Being the one that had to deal with cancer and the annoying recovery that has come with it, I wish I could talk on the phone to Dee. I'd come back after being told to call for her with, "That's fine, I will surely do your mother freaking job, seeing that you're incompetent, or should I say a lazy ABCD that can't do her freaking job. Though I should say, that paycheck you somehow magically get will now go into my darn bank account since a dip dookie like you doesn't deserve it since you're being a lazy bench, not trying harder at your freaking job." Since that can't happen, I thought I'd post my story here after seeing I Don't Work Here Lady videos on YouTube. Hopefully this biopsy I got won't be more cancer, so wish me luck. Well, good luck my Redditor, I hope everything goes well. And whatever D is, I hope you replace her because she seems like a very rude, mean person. But yeah, I hope everything gets better for you, you know, cancer sucks. This story's called Your Milk is Definitely Not My Problem. Here's the cast before we start. Me, Karen, and Deadman. So this took place 3 years ago in the Netherlands when I was on an errand for my mom near the Albert Heijn, a Dutch grocery store. I was 13 at the time, and even though I was Dutch, I wasn't really that tall yet. So I was just standing outside the store, double checking if I brought enough cash according to my grocery list, when this English-speaking lady came rushing over to me. I could immediately tell she was American, but since I didn't know of Reddit yet, I sadly couldn't identify the Karen details in time. Remember, I am a 13-year-old tiny Pole of a boy in the Netherlands. I don't know why she thought I could speak perfect English, but she immediately started spouting out some lines about milk in an angryish tone, which I didn't appreciate. Now, I know many people here say that they aren't good with confrontation, but I have ADHD and it has basically become part of my life at this point. I wasn't about to just receive incoherent yelling from some old hag in the middle of a street, so I just rudely shouted, "Hey! Could you slow down a bit, miss?" This clearly offended Karen, but at least I was able to understand her from this point on. This was the conversation. "How dare you speak to me like that? Are all kids in Holland so rude?" "Well, not really, but you were kinda shouting at me. Could you tell me what's wrong?" "Oh, so now you'll do your dang job. Listen up, boy, I'm gonna ask you one more time to carry my milk for me." Milk? What? I really don't understand. I don't think you know me." "I meant, I think you have the wrong person by that." "Well, of course not. Are you stupid? Is this why they positioned you outside for scouting instead of doing actual work?" "I'm not sure what you mean, lady, but I'm losing my pay." "I told you not to talk back. Now come here and carry this." She dragged me by the arm to her car. At this point, I could see the prophesied milk she was talking about. It was 5 boxes of like 12 cartons at a time, which would never fit into her little rental car. "Hey, don't freaking touch me!" I was small but knew how to fight, so I wasn't threatened by some dinosaur easily. "You disrespectful little brat, how dare you shout at me!" At this point, people started gathering since cars don't really pass by often, and you could clearly hear the shouting match. Dope Man got out of the crowd to confront Karen, and this conversation followed. "Mevrouw, is dit uw kind? Ma'am, is this your child?" "What? What? Speak English or leave, I'm busy." "My apologies, but this child doesn't really resemble you. Why are you shouting at him?" "He works here and he's slacking off." I finally realized the misunderstanding and I was about to unleash a verbal can of whoop booty on this entitled B when Dope Man spoke up within 0.1 seconds. "Miss, this child is clearly under the work age and has no uniform on. Please, let go of him." "What uniform? The kid was checking some list for the store guts." "Yeah, that was a freaking shopping list. Now let me go before I bite your wrinkles off." I was a brat. Bite me. People already started angrily confronting Karen and she immediately let go. Dope Man went to go get an actual employee and Karen got some help after being forced to apologize to my smug-looking butt. To this day, I don't understand why she thought Dutch employees stand outside for scouting with some goods list or whatever, but I guess I got away with it before being accused of stealing her milk or something. First and foremost, I would like to apologize to my Dutch Voicey veterans for certainly butchering that Dutch line right there. Secondly, I've just straight up given up trying to rationalize like how this Karen could have potentially thought this child outside of a store with a grocery list was an employee at the store. Okay, I just give up. I've learned to accept that Karens are just another special kind of breed of stupid. This story's called, "How Do You Confuse a Kid for a Worker?" Okay, I'll set the background. I was 15 at the time, and ever since a certain matter happened at one of my old schools, I went from an innocent goody two-shoes to a guy who doesn't give a crap what people think. Now, while I still have manners and care about people, I don't care if you think I look stupid or my artwork sucks. Or if you think I should help your fat butt look for calcium powder for your sentient scale noodles. So anyways, there's a PetSmart near where I live, and I loved going there to look at all the cute reptiles, especially the snakes. I love those cute noodles. So one day, when I went with my mom to PetSmart to pick up some dog food for our dog, I went to observe the reptiles, and in particular, the snakes. And then I hear a sudden, "Excuse me, child." I turn around and ask, while taking out my earbuds, and in my way is a massive quadruple chin, I'm not joking, lady with her Pomeranian in tow in her scooter. Me knowing basic etiquette for pet stores, I move out of the way for I think she wants to see the snakes. Boy! What a service come to in this store. I need you to take me to the area with the calcium powder. I need it for my daughter's snakes. I look at her confused. Ma'am, I don't work here. Ask one of the available cashiers or something. I don't know. My basic dismissal phrase, I don't know. You rotten little, I know you work here. You're wearing a gray shirt. And you wearing that jacket is also very unprofessional. It's summer anyways. I always wore jackets, still do. I just like wearing them even in the harsh Arizona heat. Also, PetSmart employees wear blue shirts with slacks, and I was wearing gym pants as they're very comfy. How did this lady confuse me with an employee? I'll say this again. I don't work here. PetSmart employees wear blue, not gray. Also, this is a PlayStation shirt, not a work shirt. I pull back the left part of my jacket to show the PlayStation logo on my chest. You little child, I swear I'll get you fired. And? I love using that line. Always gets people mad. You don't treasure your job? Not really, as I don't have one. Yeah, you don't. You obviously know the power I have at this store. Do you even know who I am? I decide to get cheeky. Yeah, you do have power in the store, as they have to get management to kick you out for eating the dog chow. Quick crossover from r/am I the Dookie Sphincter? Am I the Dookie Sphincter for roasting her like that? Well, I never. And she legit slaps me. Not like a disciplinary one, like a full-on slap. War smack. Luckily for me, I used to be a softie when I got hurt, so I start to tear up, and even more luckily, my mom just came around the corner with the dog food and saw her slap me. She ran to my aid and smacked the lady. My mom has always been protective and has only sworn in my presence once before, and even then I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't hear it. But this time, Mama Bear just had a 20-hour nurse shift with crappy coworkers and a hostile work environment, and she was urinated. She slapped the lady back and cursed her out, calling her a fat lard and a freaking child mistreater. She then grabbed me by the hand and told her to never get within air-breathing room ever again. Mom picked up the dog food, bought it, and left. While we were leaving, the lady yelled, "But the child works here! You're stealing him!" I know that sounds fake, but I swear to Kami that's what she said. She took a cart and thrusted it at us. Well, as much as she could manage in her scooter. I heard it coming and simply put my hand behind me and stopped the cart. Mom must have heard that cart and she turned and death stared at her. Oh my god, I have never seen such a deadly scare from my loving mom. Even I got scared. Not for her though, but for the whole parking lot that would get caught in the crossfire if she tried my mom again. We left, and as compensation for being such a cool bean, we went and got some fast food from a place that I can't remember for lunch. I'm now in college, and that still makes me chuckle in the pit of my soul. Man, you got lucky that your mom stepped in, okay? I can tell. I know the warning signs. Okay, that Karen was about to become an infinitely more powerful, a devastatingly more deadly quintuple-chinned Karen. There aren't enough decoy Nintendo Switches in the world to stop a quintuple-chinned Karen. We only barely managed to tame Mama June. There's no defeating her. This story's called, "Today I Fudged Up by Not Wanting to Die Alone and Catching the Wedding Bouquet." This F-up actually happened over 7 months ago, beginning of April 2019. I spent about $800 on a flight from Boston to South Carolina, and about 70,000 Hilton points for a hotel room for my cousin's wedding. I was in the red for vacation time, so I booked the flights down the day of the wedding, a Saturday, and back for the next morning. Anyway, as soon as the ceremony was over and I had access to the open bar, I started drinking, as one does during family gatherings. I rode that fine line between pleasantly tipsy and maybe a little bit drunk pretty much all night. At one point during the reception, I went up to my cousin and half-joked/half-begged her to try and throw the bouquet my way. You see, dear readers, I am 36, female, single, with 2 cats. Pretty much all of my friends and family members around my age are married. My fear of dying alone and not being found for weeks with my face eaten off by my cats has been growing exponentially with the passing of each day. If catching a bouquet will up my chances of avoiding that fate and finding the person I will spend my life with by even 1%, then I'm gonna go for it. Towards the end of the night, it's finally time for the bouquet toss. I took my heels off and made my way to the dance floor. I side-eyed a hefty bridesmaid as I positioned myself. The bouquet is tossed and it's wide and to the right. I lunged forward with my right foot and reached for the bouquet with my left, and it took a few seconds for my brain to register two things. One, I caught it! And two, my foot hurt. Ecstatic about the possibility of avoiding my cat-eaten face fate, I limped my way back to my seat. Soon after, the pain in my foot cut its way through the fading adrenaline and alcohol. My parents brought me a bag of ice from the bar, but the pain was getting worse. What should I do? I had a flight home at 10 a.m. I didn't want to cause any drama, but I decided I needed to go to the ER. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and I couldn't put any weight at all on my foot. I had to be carried to a car and I was dropped off at the ER, clutching my bouquet, where the x-rays confirmed that I had a pretty good break in my 5th metatarsal, also known as a Jones fracture. I was given a walking boot and crutches that were too small, and a $1,300 bill. Flying home with a broken foot and no pain medication was not pleasant. However, seeing the faces of the TSA agents and flight attendants when I told them why I was clutching onto a wilting bouquet and in a wheelchair was pretty funny. I wasn't allowed to put any weight on my foot for 6 weeks. Unfortunately, due to a birth injury, my right arm is partially paralyzed and I can't use crutches well. I also live alone. So I stayed with my parents until I was given the okay to put weight on my foot. These kinds of fractures like to take their time healing. However, mine wasn't, and it was decided that I needed surgery. On July 26th, I had a screw put into the bone. Another 6 weeks at my parents' house, and pretty much back at square one. I finally got the boot off last week and started physical therapy. The outside of my foot is numb from the surgery, and the fracture is still visible on my x-rays. It's been over 7 months since I've been able to go to the gym. I was going 3 times a week before. I've gained 20 pounds. I can't wear heels. I work in an office and I love shoes. My doctor says it can take up to a year. I haven't gone on any dates. Well, that was depressing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.